thank you for joining us today at Simply Flying. Just tell us real quick about what you do at Dublin Airport.
I'm the Public Affairs Director, and social media would fall within our remit, so we would look after the airport's Twitter account, Facebook account, and all of the other accounts that we have on various social media platforms.
Right, and you were sharing you've found it very useful for crisis management, especially when that tire burst and a runway was closed.
Yeah, Twitter is instant. That's one of the great things about it. We had an incident where an aircraft came in, the tire burst on landing. It closed our main runway. The secondary runway wasn't closed. No one was injured, and we realised that we would take a lot of press calls about that because the main runway was closed, but actually it was a relatively minor incident in as much as no one was injured and the airport was still operating. So what we did was we had 2 tweets very quickly saying that the incident had happened, and we followed up with a second tweet saying the airport was still operational, no one had been injured, and we didn't get any calls. The media reported it, but they reported the story from the 2 tweets that we put out, and it meant that we controlled the message, and also we simultaneously not just got the message to the press, but also got a message instantly to passengers, some of whom may have seen the fact that there was a plane stationary on the main runway, which wouldn't be typical for an airport.
Right, and did you have to work with the airline on this?
We had to work with the airline. The airline were initially very, very cautious about us tweeting this. They didn't want us to, and we said, look, it's going to be on Twitter anyway, and while we were talking to the airline's press person, it actually appeared on Twitter. And the one stipulation that the airline had was they didn't want us to use the word burst tire, the phrase burst tire. So we had a compromise where we talked about a tire deflation, which was a slightly cumbersome use of words, but it still got the message across. It was what we felt was important was we needed to be out and up front quickly and say, look, we've had this incident, it's not a major incident, no one's been injured, and we're still operational.
Right, so you wanted to do it before anyone else does it?
Yes, because once one journalist had already tweeted, and obviously it's like throwing a stone in a pond. The ripples go, people get retweets. So if you don't get out there quickly, you're always trying to play catch up.
Right. Now, you also helped Euro tickets, which were found for a person.
Yeah, we had a great incident last summer where someone who was flying out to the Euro 2012 Championships in Poland, they left their 3 match tickets, which were priceless. The games were sold out. Their 3 Ireland match tickets at the airport. They ended up with airport police. So we tweeted that someone had lost these tickets, and we had the tickets. And it was the case we knew we'd find this person. It's a perfect example of the power of social media. I had no doubt that we'd find this chap. And actually so much so that he only realised that he'd lost the tickets. He was telling me this afterwards when his brother telephoned him when he was on a train, and his brother said, where are your match tickets? And his brother was still in Dublin. And he said, they're in my bag. And he said, no, they're not. And he said, how do you know they're not in my bag? And he said, Dad's name, because the tickets were bought in his dad's name. Dad's name is trending worldwide on Twitter. You left your tickets at the airport. So the tickets were left in the morning. By late afternoon, we had managed to find a friend of his who was flying out to the game that evening, gave the tickets back, and he actually was on some of the evening radio shows saying, thanks very much to Dublin Airport for getting my tickets back. Well, it was a great story.
That must be great PR for you as well.
It was great PR, and it was the perfect timing. It was just as the championships were beginning. Ireland were playing 3 games. Actually, in hindsight, given how badly we did, he might have been happier if he'd left the tickets at the airport. But the timing worked. And it captured people's imagination. It was a great story.
That's fantastic. What's one tip for other airports looking to get into social media or Twitter and who might be scared right now?
I think you need to firstly start following other airports, look at what they're doing. We have a particular stance on Twitter. We have a tone of voice, a sensibility, which has almost a journalistic sensibility, which is working well for us. But it's very much targeted to the market in which we operate. If you're a regional airport in France, you might want a totally different way of doing things than the way Dublin does. Look at other airports, look at airports that are like you, and you'll find, when we started, there were certain airports that we looked at and we said, we absolutely don't want to do what they do. And it's as useful to know what you don't want to do as what you do want to do. But it's important to have a strategy, because I was at a conference a while back where someone said, if you don't have a strategy, it's just typing. So it's funny, we're not great. We were in the process of codifying our strategy and writing it, but in our heads, we know exactly what we're doing and we're really clear about it. So it's important to know what you want to do, but also experiment. It's difficult to get it really badly wrong.
Right. Well, fantastic, Paul. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this, and all the best with Dublin Airport and social media.
Thanks very much. Nice to talk to you.